So, hello and welcome to Aramark Northern Europe's very first walking podcast, which I am delighted to be hosting today. The aim of today is to get us all up, out of our chairs, and out walking. So, I'm going to pause just for a quick moment to give you all a chance to say, close your screens, make sure you're on your Microsoft Teams on your phone, put your headphones in, get your runners on, and get out. No need to have any cameras on today or the mics on as our quick safety moment. Just conscious of a trip hazard. So if you are taking the stairs around the building or if you're out walking around the park, you don't need to be looking at the screen on your phone. Just pop it in your pocket and listen to us today. So the reason for this walking podcast is this month we are launching Move for 30. Move for 30 is Aramark's physical activity awareness campaign. So it encourages us all to move 30 minutes every day. And that's a government recommendation in both Ireland and across the UK. So I'm going to aim for the podcast to be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long. Please also track your steps today and log your steps. We are doing a step challenge for the month of February. We are trying to walk the circumference of the earth. So we'd love you to send in your steps. Richard, you too, everyone listening, for the whole month. And the step tracker is available on our website, yourwellbeinginfocus.com. We've also sent it around in the internal newsletters this month. Also, if you're out, if you're walking your dog, if you're in the office, if you're somewhere lovely and sunny, please send in some pictures or selfies. We have to either myself or the Wellbeing in Focus email, which is wellbeinginfocus@aramark.co.uk. We also acknowledge that not everyone has 30-minute blocks that they can set aside for exercise every day. And some people like to do 5 to 10 minutes here or there of short bursts of exercise. And we call these exercise bites. So that's something like doing some jumping jacks when the TV ad breaks are on, or a wall sit while the kettle boils, or one our student intern thought of was doing some squats while you're brushing your teeth. And that's every day. So if you're doing that twice a day, every day for the month of February, you'll be looking good at the end of it. For anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Amanda Courtney, Senior Dietitian for Aramark Northern Europe. I've been with the company 2 years. I'm based in Dublin and I'm working as part of the health and wellbeing team. Again, I'm super excited to launch our walking podcast today, and even more excited that joining us today is our guest speaker, Richard Holmes. Richard is Director of Wellbeing for Westfield Health. Richard, I'm glad you said yes to doing this. How are you today?
I'm very well, and hi everyone. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. Richard, I know the audience are dying to know a little bit about you, your background and your journey to date. Can you talk us through it, please?
Okay, just really quickly then. I started as a PE teacher, so that might put a horrible thought in your head when you think back to times past. But I then dropped out of teaching and retrained in effect with a master's degree in medical sciences, and since then for the last 30 years I've been working as a wellbeing specialist, first as, if you like, an in-house director of healthcare for a large sort of European-wide travel company, and then I moved to the dark side and became a contractor like yourselves, providing wellbeing solutions to organisations.
Fantastic. Listening to your background, starting off as a PE teacher with your master's in medical science, now the director of wellbeing. Where did the interest in wellbeing stem from?
It's always been there. As you can imagine, sort of I was sports mad as a youngster, sports mad as a young adult until injuries hit, but always had this belief and interest that of the value of people being a little bit more active, exercising more. And then that moved into a broader area in terms of mental well-being. Sleep's a big one for us, supporting people in terms of their energy levels, because if you ask everyone on this call what's the one thing they'd like more, if they could have it tomorrow, it would be a bit more va-va-voom, I guess, to get through the day. We're all feeling tired all the time, so they're big issues for everyone. And yeah, the passion came just from being able to help other people do things that I've found of benefit for myself.
Fantastic. Teaching those all the learnings that you have to date.
Yeah.
And I suppose you're director of wellbeing and and you're in Westfield Health. Can you give a bit about Westfield Health and your role, your day-to-day role within Westfield Health?
Well, for those people that haven't heard of Westfield Health, we're a health and wellbeing company. We provide solutions for employers to support their people to be healthier, whether that's mental health programs, sleep programs, on-site gyms that we run, insurance services that we provide from a health perspective. So it's all about helping people to improve the quality of their lives. That's what we're about.
Fantastic. And thinking of helping people, do you have any tips, say for those out walking today, if they're new to exercise, and how are we going to get them up and out and moving?
I would say the first thing that it's a really good question, actually. What the most important thing from my perspective, shall we say, I think the key thing above all else is once you start exercising is maintain that as best you can as a regular regime.
And why do you say that?
Well, you know, what we find with exercise and getting fitter and getting healthier, feeling better because of that, those benefits are achieved and maintained only if you continue to regularly exercise. That doesn't have to be every day, but the regularly, week in, week out, you're performing a level of activity exercise that's right for you.
Okay, so consistency. What are your top tips for doing this? Keeping consistent.
Top tips, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few actually. I think that again, it comes down to you're only going to maintain that as a regular thing if you're motivated to do it. So what's really important is to do things that you enjoy. Really, really important, and be adaptable. So one of the common faults we find from a lot of people in terms of their ability to adhere to the new program they've set themselves, if they've been unrealistic, they're trying to do too much, and they're too fixed in the thinking. So from adaptability, it's a lot easier to fit something new into your existing lifestyle, like a daily walk, than it is to try and change your whole lifestyle at once. Okay, so try and look at it that way. Be realistic about what you can do, how you can fit things in, but plan how you're going to fit those things in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And can you give any examples of what you mean? How do we fit it in?
Oh, okay. So how about give an example of myself? Okay.
Brilliant.
So I'm either working from home, which I'm doing today, by the way, hence the filters are on.
Yeah, we do.
Or I'm out traveling with clients, or I'm at head office. So I have to think about, you know, what I can do each week based upon what I'm doing. So it has to fit with what I'm doing. So if I'm at home today, this is brilliant when I'm at home. So I get to go out with my wife and dog for 40-50 minute brisk walk in the early morning before work starts. I'll probably then take the dog out for a 15-30 minute walk at lunchtime, just so I can escape. And then every other day, generally speaking, I'll go for a short run in the evening. Okay, now that sounds a lot, but I've got built up to that stage. But I've got to be adaptable. So obviously, if I'm off traveling for the day, I can't do that. Yeah. So one of the things I do naturally, but it's something worth thinking about, is on a Sunday evening is just sit down, think about your week coming up, and when can you put your walking sessions in to actually deliver the steps you need to deliver to take part in this challenge. And don't get frustrated if there's days when you can't do things. You know, just make sure that the day after you do. So it's just fitting things in with the lifestyle. Yeah, and that really is probably the key thing for me. From a training perspective, more formal perspective, for those of you that are starting out for the first time, and this is new to you, which is great, well done. The physical changes that you might want to see from your new exercise regime will take some time to happen. So be realistic about that. However, the mental benefits, the lift in mood, how you feel that you get naturally from exercise happen a lot quicker. So focus on how you feel rather than how you look, should we say. And in the early days of exercise, just be careful, just exercise within yourself. Don't set your targets too high. Going back to what I said before, it's about adopting a regular schedule and feeling the early benefits. Yeah. So if you're wanting to get X number of steps in over the next month, start off steady, start off slow within yourself, and then slowly progress and build up. Yeah. If you've had any past injuries in the past that you think walking might affect you, don't worry. Walking's a really, really good one because it's what we call a low impact exercise. So if you've had previous injuries, you're concerned about it, focus on walking to get your steps rather than running, as an example. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there. That was
Sorry.
very motivational. No, fantastic.
No,
Really,
shout if I'm
really
going
enjoyed
over
it. No.
going off on one. Yeah.
No, learning loads. So I hope those listening in are learning too. And I suppose that was for the beginners. And if we think of this as a two-part question, those who would regularly exercise, how would you suggest that they push themselves further or challenge themselves more?
That's a good point. Yeah, because sometimes the people that are already exercising get forgotten about because we're naturally trying to encourage as many people as possible to exercise. So I guess whatever your challenge is, that usually means you want to go further, you want to go higher, you want to go longer, or you want to go faster. Yeah, for those people that are already exercising, or a combination of those. Now, one of the primary reasons we don't always achieve what we'd like to achieve in those challenges is because we hit problems such as what we refer to in the trade as plateauing, and we get the principles of overload that are important for training and improving performance wrong.
Just for me and for those listening in, can you explain what you mean by plateau?
Yeah, that's a bit of a technical term. So some of the exercises here online at the moment will know. So what happens is when you start an exercise program and you continue it for an extended period of time, you expect your fitness to keep on improving. Yeah. Yep. What happens in reality, the common problem, and some of the exercises online will know this because it's quite frustrating, is you'll hit stages where you just plateau off and you don't seem to have any improvement. And that obviously can get really frustrating if you're training to run a 10K race, that type of thing. So that's what we mean by plateauing. We tend to progress, then plateau, then progress again, then plateau, and go almost in steps. But that step can be quite long at times.
I think we have all felt that at a certain stage. You kind of get into that comfort zone, but you're comfortable because you can do your 5K, but it's the next step up. How do you get from 5K to 10K? And it's pushing yourself that little bit further. So do you have any tips on how we can overcome the plateau stage or get past that stagnant stage?
And it goes back to, if we go back to the beginnings, so the way that your body, think of your body as a machine, which is in effect what is this wonderful biological machine. Okay, it only becomes more efficient, more effective, fitter if you give it a stimulus. And in the trade, we call that overload. So we overload because then what the body does, it adjusts, it adapts, it gets stronger so that it can cope with that load that you're putting on it. So if you don't keep tweaking the overload, then the body gets used to the level of training you're doing, and obviously there's no improvement, there's no impact. And so the way we play with overload from a training point of view is three things. It's the intensity of the exercise, the frequency, or the duration. So you can tweak either of those to then get to the next stage and get the improvement going again. And so it also goes back to people just beginning exercise. So I've said start exercising within yourself. As you feel comfortable with that, you'll start increasing the duration of your session or how fast you're walking. And that provides the stimulus for the body to start adapting and improving its fitness. Yeah,
okay, so intensity, duration, and the last one?
Intensity, duration, frequency. So how often you train. I'm talking that in terms of each day. Now, professional athletes, you might be in a day, but we're not expecting that here.
Fantastic. And for those out walking, I suppose we're coming up to the halfway point. We hope that you are really enjoying the conversation so far and you are encouraged to keep moving. Richard, in a minute, I'm going to ask you about how you stay motivated, but I might jump in here first and tell you about
Yes.
how I stay motivated.
Oh, please.
So I find the buddy system great. I find that if I pair up with someone and I say I'm going to go to the gym before work or I'm going to go for a long walk after dinner, I find the accountability and the commitment to that person, I really don't want to let them down. So that's how I stay on track. I feel like a buddy system. What is your recommendation for staying on track or staying active throughout the year?
Yeah, well, the one you've just mentioned is really, really important. You know, if socially you feel that somebody else is relying on you to turn up, that's a really great influencer. Yeah. But it's different things for different people as well. I guess my biggest challenge is, like everyone else, it's how do I keep going? and I don't always succeed. So I think you have to recognize that. Probably the best thing to do is if you suddenly find that you've spent 2, 3, 4, 5 days not doing any steps in this particular exercise, the important thing is to recognize it and get back on track as quickly as possible. Yeah. And if there has been a gap, then don't do what my wife always criticizes me for, which is jump back on track in terms of what you were doing before. Because your fitness has dropped off a little bit, you then need to start a little bit lower than when you finished and build up again. And then other top things that might be helpful, from my experience, I don't do just one thing all the time. So, for example, if I'm doing a walking challenge, then I'll make sure I'm going on different routes during the week rather than sticking to the same old. I don't always do the same thing each week. So I'll keep the times at which I exercise during the week relatively constant, but I might fancy doing something different. You know, I wake up and think, I don't fancy this walk. I'll get on the bike. I'll go for a run. That type of thing. So again, just play with how you feel about things. I like to change activities during the year. I'm an ex-sportsman, so I'm into this sort of off-season, in-season, that type of thing. So I'll do things on a seasonal basis and change what I do in winter from summer, that type of, just to keep my interests going more than anything else.
What sports were you doing? Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, football and rugby.
Okay.
Were my big passions. Mainly, I was better at rugby, but I played more football. Yeah, so, but the knees gave way.
Yeah,
very early.
Yeah, so, heavy going contact sports.
Yeah. So I have to be careful, like some other people on walk here, in terms of old back injury, old knee injury. So I actually have to vary things to minimize the impact on particular joints. So that's why in a seasonal thing, summer I might spend a lot of time on the bike. Winter I'll tend to spend a lot of time walking. Spring, autumn I might prefer more running, that type of thing, or going to the gym. So that's how I mix things up to keep it fresh for me. What else do I do? Every year I like to give myself a challenge. So that might be doing, say, a 5K or a 10K. They're obvious ones. So what I then do is spend the 8-12 weeks before that challenge specifically preparing for that challenge. And again, that's just building variety and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's really important. I think people need to hear that doesn't have to be the same sport or gym class you go to, or the same exercise, same routine, even the same direction. You say you go different directions on your walk. I think that's really important. We can kind of get stuck and stagnant, going the same way, doing the same thing. But if you want to build and improve and progress, change it up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing, given the countries that we live in, is one of the things I've learned to do, because it's the biggest off-putter for a lot of people, is embrace bad weather. So it might sound a little bit nuts, but for me, there's nothing better than going out for a slow run when it's pouring with rain. It's just the sensation of it all. Just
slow motion. Yeah.
It really works for me, but I know it doesn't work for everyone, but actually it's important. One of the key things that we've not mentioned is mindset. So don't have to, I'm not talking about being mentally tough all the time, but actually just adopting that positive mindset when there's something that appears an obstacle and you just say, no, let's go for it. Let's just actually try and enjoy it.
Yeah, look at the bright side of life.
It really helps. Yeah.
And I think your point there, it's good clothes, not or fair weather exercisers. I suppose it's just bad clothes, not bad weather. So people say
That's
if you have the right
very good.
thermals and good wet wear, you can get out and get
Yeah.
exercising, and no
Yeah.
matter what the weather.
Yeah, but it's important consideration, because if you're wanting, especially if we're doing this challenge in February, one of the biggest challenges for a lot of us doing this challenge will be the weather.
Yeah.
So think of alternatives if the weather is too bad or you just don't like it, in terms of what you can do inside to keep those steps going, or just embrace it. Just look at it as a challenge.
Just bringing you off on that question there, is there anything you do inside that I suppose you do with Westfield Health or you do yourself that people mightn't have heard of or just haven't thought of thinking of, just to keep fit while inside without running around in circles for too long?
I think from a walk, it's just getting the steps in wherever you can, so when I'm at work, for example, I always take phone calls standing up and walk around the room.
Great idea.
Simple stuff like that. If I'm in the office and I need to nip to the loo, I'll go to the 1-2 floors above.
Didn't think of that one. Yeah, it's a great idea.
How can you just vary things just to build a couple of those steps in? Because that's what the challenge is about. And if you're recording the steps, it doesn't matter whether you're out for a walk or you're on the phone and pacing around the room, you're still recording the steps.
Yeah, very true. And I think the Fitbits and trackers help us keep us on track. Some people set goals or targets every day, 10,000 steps. And if you're at 950, you're going to keep going. So you achieve the full 10,000.
Yeah.
It's conscious of time. I suppose I have another one and it's bringing you a whole other direction. We've spoken about exercise, but we all know we can't run on empty. So I know it's so important, nutrition, to have a good diet to improve your performance. What are your top tips regarding workout snacks, meals? Is there anything you suggest to clients?
Okay, now this is a really interesting one, because this whole idea of fueling for exercise, and importantly for recovery, by the way, which is the post-workout snack, it's something we've taken from elite high-performance athletes and sports people. But they use that as a top-up to their diet, which, as everybody can imagine, if you're a professional sports person, is very nutritious and healthy. Okay, so I would suggest what's most important to the vast majority of us on this call is to get that baseline right first. So rather than focus on the pre-workout, post-workout snacks, let's focus on getting the basics right first, which is a balanced, healthy diet. And I guess, Amanda, you're probably better positioned to give some top tips on this than I am. Can you give me some top tips what I should be doing for my diet?
Yeah, sure. I've just been nodding away, smiling, agreeing with everything you say. I suppose you said it there, balance. It's about a little bit of everything, but ensuring that we don't exclude any one food group. Some food groups can get a bad name, but we do need a little bit of everything for a nutritious, balanced diet. So that includes a combination of carbohydrates, fats, protein, and fluid. For carbohydrates, I always opt for the whole grain options, the brown versions. Stay away from the kind of more refined, white, starchy foods. Fats get a bad name. They're called good and bad. And I suppose the reason behind that is we've got the unsaturated and the saturated fats. Saturated, I think of solid at room temperature. So you've got your butter, lard, you've got your goat's fat, but also you've got your biscuits, your cakes, your pastries. And then you've got your unsaturated fats, or the good fats. And these are your oily fish, your salmon, your trout, your mackerel. You've got your avocados, your nuts, and your seeds. Protein, we have animal sources. We've got lean meats. So red meats, we always recommend cutting off the visible fat and eating only the lean protein of it. You've got your poultry, and then you've got your non-animal sources. So you've got your beans, your pulses, your lentils, all full of protein. And I think they never get a great rap, and I suppose they are so important and so easily accessible, even last so long. You can buy them tinned, which is just brilliant, or dried, so they're always available in the store cupboard. And then finally, fluids. So we all know we need 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, which is about 2 liters of fluid, but sometimes people don't account for having been on a walk or the weather. If it's warm out too, you're going to need more. So I suppose you've said it there, balance, bit of everything. But I just want to touch on, you mentioned nutrition and recovery. Can you go into this a little bit further?
Yeah, so from a recovery perspective is not necessarily completely with nutrition, but if people out on the call here, if you're planning on now taking more regular exercise than you did, one of the things that will really help you and actually keep you fresh and motivated is if you actually focus about how you're going to recover from those exercise sessions. So that's not just making sure you have a good stretch afterwards so you don't get too stiff too quickly, but start to have a think about your sleep, because we know those people that sleep on a more regular basis in terms of the time they go to bed and the time they wake up, more consistent sleep patterns, and get the right amount of quality sleep, your energy levels are so much higher. And that will only help you in terms of your motivation to exercise and your ability to exercise. And as you progress, so for those of you on the call that are already heavily into exercise and really looking to take this challenge on at a different level, that ability to recover properly is absolutely essential. You probably see it from watching professional sports. So if anybody watches the Tour de France and they see the buses going round, and the athletes just literally are taken straight off the bike into physio, cool down, and then they're basically fed and put into bed.
Yeah.
And it's when we're asleep that the body recovers and mends itself. So that's one of the core times that the body starts making the adaptations we talked about earlier that help it rebuild and come back fitter. So
completely agree.
That's
I think
the essential part.
Yeah, sleep, just number one. And it's taken for granted. And I think with busy lives, people stay up later, watch TV, and it's just so important to get to bed early and get those eight hours if you can. But depending on,
and it's a bit like you're saying about having a balanced diet. It's
balanced lifestyle.
It's balanced lifestyle. So think about it just in terms of sleep, recovery, nutrition, exercise. They're the three pillars that will help you perform better, whether that's in your step challenge or whether that's in your daily life.
Fantastic. Richard, my eyes just gone to the clock. I realize it's 2 minutes to 3. That actually flew by. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed listening in today. If you want to let us know how far you've gotten, if you've ended up on the other side of your area or you've done all the steps up and down the office, I'd love to hear. And please remember to send in some photos. Richard, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you. I hope to have you back on our screens again soon. And thank you. Just really appreciate it.
No, absolute pleasure, and good luck everyone with the challenge.
Thank you.